everyone, welcome to a new episode of Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. Really hope you're having a good day, a good week, a good month, and you've got your feet up and you're relaxing, or you're in the office. Maybe you shouldn't be watching in the office. I am joined by a really interesting person today, Morgan. I don't know anything about her really. We met at an event at Swindon Town Football Club, and we finally got round to getting together for today's episode. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So my name is Morgan. I am a 30-year-old trans woman. I'm a DJ, an event organizer, and I also work for the Swindon Culture Collective as a creative space delivery officer. So that's everything I work in, everything I do.
Blimey, there's a bit of a portfolio going on there.
At this point, yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to unpick some of that. So I'm going to take you back. The first thing you said about yourself was that you're a trans woman.
Yes.
So let's go back to childhood. Talk us through how Morgan found herself. Share whatever you want to.
I mean, that's a funny one. And it's, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you don't really think about. The only reason I can give you an answer on it is because, you know, part of the process you have to go through to even start to get support as a trans person medically is to have that kind of psych eval and do some introspection. I mean, the bottom line is, for me, it was something that only clicked into actual genuine clarity at probably the age of 25, 26, 27. And then it's been a process after that point. But the upon introspection, because obviously we're quite a few years in now, I mean, it was always a thing. Probably as far going back as like 11, early teens, and then there's this period of time where you kind of black it out and forget about it, but it always resurfaces.
And how has that been? Well, since you've owned it, if you like, and faced it and looked at it, were you fearful of how people would be? Because it's not easy to be trans person, is it? And it's particularly not easy, I think, for trans women. So how have you managed that?
Just kind of get on with it. I mean, really, but it's how do you manage it? I mean, it's, yeah, it is frightening. It's difficult. I mean, I don't know if you're really aware of that, but like there is definitely a difference in, there's different problems for trans men and trans women. Again, obviously, I'm not a trans man, so I can't massively speak to their experience. Yeah. But the understanding I have broadly is that what you generally find is that trans women are often more publicly vilified, and then trans men are essentially erased and put to the side. And they're both for the same reason, which is that believing that it's not an actual thing.
I tell you what, I've thought about this, Morgan. Yeah. Having a good friend who is a trans woman, who's now closer to my age, closer to 60, and having friends that are trans men, is that it's always been there. And I can look back to my childhood and identify two people. Yeah. One born male who we used to call it then cross-dressing. Sure. Treated like the village idiot in my community, which was in Somerset then. And I look back with shame on that. And the other thing was a girl called Annie, who eventually, who clearly wasn't happy in her body. Sure. And I look back and recognise that now, but you can kind of blank it out.
I mean, this actually has been on my mind a lot recently, and it is difficult. Is that you bear in mind if you're trans, you're brought up in a cis society. The concept of being trans wasn't even a thing that I had ever had introduced to me by family or friends or school or anything really. And yet it still happened organically anyway, but it probably is hard those first 20 years, because you'd sort of, I think I always described it, it's a very binary way of talking about it, but it very much is like, a cat doesn't realize it's a cat if it's raised with dogs and never knows what a cat is. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you would assume there's just something a bit off, but you wouldn't sort of think there's anything wrong or anything that's out of shape. or
Did
out of
you have a
place.
light bulb moment, or was it like a gradual realization? I know you said it was probably in your mid-20s. Did you say 24,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
25?
yeah.
But was there one moment, or was it just over time you came to it,
Yeah,
as
I
it
mean
were?
there was crossover. I mean I'd I mean I'd sort of just like explored it in elements at times, but like it was when I was discussing it with a um partner I had at the time at one point briefly, and realized that it was something, but he wasn't interested in that, and I realized it was something that was really important, and then it just spiraled from there essentially.
Mm.
You know.
Do you feel happy?
Mm, that's an interesting question, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I think it's a bit of a gotcha question if it's said by the wrong person, because the short answer is no. But I would literally rather anything else. I would the thing of you can take away the things that make me trans from my cold dead hands. Do you know what I mean? I'm not. It's difficult right now, but
Are
not.
you on a journey to happiness then, do you think?
You tell me. I mean, of course I am as far as I'm concerned, but that's not really up to me right now. And that's more to do with the current state of, the way the country is, the way that things are legislated, the options we have for ourselves. If I am happy, it's because I find happiness. And I make happiness for myself and find ways to survive and make things work. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't put happy being trans actually as a prerequisite, because I just am. I don't have shame for being trans, and I am who I am, and I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah. I think I get you, because you haven't said to me, "Are you happy?"
Yeah. It's like
And I am.
it's like if I asked you, "Are you happy being a woman?"
Yeah.
It's almost a prerequisite.
Yes. But nobody asked you
Yeah.
that. No, you're quite right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do know what I mean.
It's still based on the underlying assumption that it's
Yes.
a choice based thing.
Yes.
You know?
But it isn't. It just is. You're
Yeah.
finding
No. Yeah.
who you are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you want to say anything else about that as we go, but are these conversations, Morgan, you have every day, or do you not have them every day? Have you got a circle of colleagues where just get on with the job?
Yeah, I do. I do definitely. I mean, obviously, it's different places you work are going to have different cultural environments. It's going to make it different. Depends where you work. Where I work right now, disclaimer, where I work right now with Swindon Culture Collective, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
They're all very good. I've worked in other places before where it's not as easy, but like, it a lot of the time it just I think I've personally been quite lucky to not receive a lot of explicit, targeted negativity or like harassment, but like it's still there as an underlying thing, passively,
And also, if you're choosing, and you are choosing to be a bit more out there, aren't you? Social media and all of that.
Sure.
There is an element of risk of that. Whereas if you've got a tight community who know you and they've known you for a long time, you'll just be Morgan. You're part of the furniture of all of their friends and all of their colleagues. So why take that risk, Morgan? Why are you doing that? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, because that's like basic human right, isn't it? What's the other option? I stay in my house forever.
Yeah. Or you just stay in your close group of friends forever.
Yeah.
And you never stretch outside that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing I think that gets obfuscated with a lot of the talk of it in a gimmicky or a psychology way. So it's just human rights. It's heavy talk, and I'm happy to get heavy. I don't mind that. I've got a bit of a radical edge, but like, if you really pushed me on it, my response would be like, I honestly would rather, like, go outside and one day just have it end badly, but at least I'm me, or have a bad experience, rather than hide in my house forever, you
Mm.
know, because that's not living,
No,
you know.
no.
Assuming you want to go out. If you don't, then you
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but it's just but why when you frame it in a more normal way, isn't that insane? You're basically asking me. It's insane that you're asking me like, so you're scared of the way the public views you. How do you feel about going outside? Why don't you stay inside? That's a crazy thing to say. You
Yeah, it
wouldn't.
is. You're
Do you know
right.
what I mean? If you said it to anyone else, it would be wild. Do you know what I mean? But I think it demonstrates the way the topic is slanted. Do you know what I mean?
How do we get around that, though, Morgan?
Mm. Wow. I mean, I think now you're getting into like a bigger conversation, aren't you?
I know.
Which I think probably if we keep going on, we'll get completely lost in it. But I do have a thought, and I mean, and this probably counts to a lot of things. You know, obviously, a lot of the stuff we're dealing with now has gotten a lot darker and more serious than what it was. But at one point, we had the culture war stuff. We had people picking on scapegoats and making easy targets for things that were nothing to do with anyone. I mean, the bottom line is, I think, just sort of, the best thing to do is take a sort of a populist approach. You sort of appeal to common ground things. The same things that I need to live happily, which are like, basic access to medication that I desperately need consistently, access to, like gender affirming surgeries on an NHS basis. Those are things that basically any woman needs. You know what I mean? So the needs I have for HRT are the same needs that a woman with menopause has for HRT.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's like, what is that? Like, how much of the population is that? But they can't get it either. You know what I mean? My mum and my sister have real trouble getting that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirts. I get it.
Yeah. And
I
it's just
totally
the
get
same
it.
conversation. So why would we even need to talk about what I should be doing or where I should be? We obviously all just want to live and let live. So the real conversations are things like material things. Do we all have the things we need? Do we have access to medication we need? Are we safe? Is everyone getting paid enough? Are the bills too high?
Yeah.
What are the government doing?
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's move on to other topics.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
you get a
totally
bit
see what
heavy.
you're saying, Morgan. So, look, you are involved in several projects. So, pick the first one you want to tell me about. I know nothing about it. No one who's listening or watching knows anything about it. So, pick your first one.
Sure. We can go chronologically, so we can start with the North Star New Wave stuff.
North Star New Wave.
Sound Collective.
Sound Collective. North Star New Wave Sound Collective.
Yeah.
I'm just being clear so people know what
Yep.
that is. Talk to us about that.
That is, it's a loose organization. So it's informal. It's not a fixed thing. It's not a charity. It's not a CIC. It's the whoever's in it varies on who's available at any given time. It's essentially a loose collective of rappers, DJs, producers, other music techies, film techies, photographers, visual artists, whoever wants to be there at the time. And essentially what we just do is we currently launch, we make free music events. And we often do it in what's called a meanwhile space, which is often making use of, trying to make use of derelict or empty units, like retail units in town centres. They make really good small venues for a one night thing or a little like a month run or a couple of weeks run, and it's also free for us if we do it right with the help of maybe a local charity or something, because we haven't got any money either. So basically it's a group of DJs and artists who do free gigs at no cost for ourselves besides petrol and whatever, and we just do it for free for
So, how
ourselves
did
as well.
that start then, Morgan? Tell us about that.
It kind of came out of necessity. I mean, I've been operating in Swindon again. I'm always local to Swindon, but I've been operating in Swindon again after going to higher education and stuff. I've been operating in Swindon since 2019, I think. And I'd come hot off of doing. I managed to get my way to doing a master's in the end. I did a contemporary performance practice master's degree. I started as a kid. I started, doing youth theatre stuff in Swindon. Just standard, like theatre as you expect it. And as I managed to grow up and go through education, that understanding got more and more complex until I ended up at a thing called contemporary performance practice, which is where you're getting to the point almost, what is performance? And you have all these crazy formats. But that kind of thing isn't just about the sort of crazy, like sort of like proper like metropolitan, like liberally kind of like, like you go into like an installation and it's someone doing something crazy or like a really abstract expression. It wasn't just that kind of conversations. The question of what was theatre and what was performance also applied to things like space and how things are facilitated, who gets to go to them, what kind of audiences are being appealed to, who can access what. And there was all those kind of conversations alongside the more artistic conversations of what can be considered a performance or an artistic activity, right? So that was the context I was coming from when I came back to Swindon. And I felt like there was a lot of opportunities. I wanted to sort of stretch my creative muscles and test what I'd learned. I kind of had like a multidisciplinary practice at that point. So I wanted to make things that were a bit arts and crafty. I'd build like little costumes and pieces. There would be a performance structure, a bit of a narrative, some characters. There were screens, there was video, there was a bit of music, but it was more like backgroundy, sort of additional feature. And then I just got about trying to find somewhere to do these performances. I couldn't find anywhere. And then eventually someone mentioned about that the Brunel might be useful because they have empty spaces. And I thought that would be good. And then I tried to get one and I got palmed off and it really pissed me off. So I just sort of locked in on that for the next 2 years.
Gosh, you've got blooming staying power then, haven't you?
Yeah.
2 years.
And with I did a durational performance. So I did my first actual Arts Council grant that I got was like 2023, I think. So I applied for it in 2022, got it for 2023. We did this sort of, arts and crafty durational installation piece. It was like 8 hours long. It was like it's very cinematic, with a bit of music going into it and some sort of some scenes that happen. It was very loosey goosey.
And was that in the Brunel?
No, that at the time that happened in Artsite.
Yeah.
Actually, it happened to like literally no audience. It was more of like thankfully it was more of like an artistic development grant. Do you know what I mean? The point of it was just to develop the skills and develop the practice. So that was fine. Haven't received an Arts Council grant since then. That was 2023. Been declined plenty of times. Have tried.
I don't get a sense you'll give up.
No. I'm actually applying for another one right now, actually.
Cool.
But then after that point, it was then a question of how do we get stuff to do things like in the future? And I knew I wanted to push the music stuff. We ended up doing 1 or 2 one night only kind of gigs that again were filmed in a dramatic way to make them look really cinematic and fun. Did them at Artsite as well, and that was the year after, in 2024, at the start of the year. And then from that point, I then just took a real push into making electronic music for myself and with other artists, and it very quickly started to shift away from a theatre background that I'd grown up in and had my education in, which had then become a multidisciplinary practice. And it suddenly started to fully shift into a music practice. We'd been trying to get funding for a new musical project that was going to be called Do They Owe Us a Living? And that was going to come out in 2024. And obviously I'm laughing because I don't conceive. We got to 2025 and obviously still hadn't got it. We'd applied like 5 times.
Yeah.
And if anyone's had to write an application for 30,000, it's a lot.
I've got clients that have
It's
applied
a long
for
process.
Arts Council
Yeah.
stuff. It's
grueling. It's hard.
It is.
And we hadn't got it, but we had secured by this point, 3 years in, a talk with the Brunel, and we had that relationship now, and we had everything we needed except for money. So we just sort of said, "Fuck it," and we just locked in. We just secured a date, and we ran a 3-month gig space. And then it got really tested because before I started the work I did last year, so this would have been out shortly after we met.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 months from
Yeah,
that.
because I think you mentioned it briefly.
Was when I locked in and decided just to go for it because I had all the equipment. we had all the team, we had the agreement, we had the space. So something had to happen. We couldn't just keep waiting for funding forever. A key thing as well, I think when I made that first 2023 application, I'd already got in my head the idea of sustainability, financial sustainability for myself. I was very aware at the time, and I was correct, that it was not a guarantee that we would keep getting more funding. So part of the application I made was the idea that I was going to buy all this music equipment with the money I got from Arts Council in 2023, with the stated intent of I'm buying this outright rather than renting it so that I never have to buy it again. Cutting costs out and owning the means of your production so that you can do things when the money is tight. You still have the means to do the stuff. And so that allowed us to do the work in 2025, which was the 3-month gig space.
And what's coming up? What are you thinking of next?
I mean, that's a hard one. I know we've got things planned. We just did, so end of 2025, we did a big 3-month run, and there was about, what do you think, 8 gigs we did? 11. Jesus. 11 gigs.
11 gigs, yeah.
And then we just did a little, I guess, kind of warm-up event. We did a album launch event for Kid Lightning, who's a local rapper who's worked with us a lot before, for his new album, Hardware. Shout out.
That's good.
And
shout out.
yeah. And
we need to get some of these people on our podcast.
we should.
We should.
They do well.
Point them our way, Morgan, because we've got lots of slots to fill, and I know a lot of people.
What else have we got? That's the main one. I will admit, I had quite a more ambitious program at the start of the year. I've stripped it down. We did the Hardware gig just recently. That was in May. That was in May, wasn't it? Yeah, May.
Yeah, that's last month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Years flying by.
Yeah.
Always flies by.
And then we're actually playing at Pride, August 15th on the community stage.
Brilliant.
We've got 2 new artists there as well. We've got B-Boy and Elf Jar playing. They're both producers. Both producers, this is the nice thing about the outputs we can do now. They're both producers that are very, very skilled producers with not a lot of performance opportunities. Their music is so good. And it's just going to be half an hour or so on the Swindon Pride stage of them just playing their music.
Brilliant.
Which is going to be great.
That's fine. So what strikes me then, Morgan, just from the outside, and if I put my PR journalistic brain into gear,
sure,
is what I've always known about Swindon is we have within Swindon amazing artistic talent in all genres.
Yeah.
Or contacts with people with amazing talent, and then we all operate in silos and don't know about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need to be more out there.
Yeah.
We all do. And we need to be able to embrace that, and we need to find and identify the people that can help us with that when we haven't got any money to pay people.
Yeah.
Because most people pay me to put them out there.
Sure.
But on the other hand, you probably don't know this about us, but at Scott Media, we have a charity a year.
Okay.
Or a community organisation where we do their PR for free. So last year it was Swindon Hub.
Right.
This year it's Best Mates. We've got a waiting list for the next year, but don't be afraid. I am a Swindon person. This is my home. This is where I've brought up my family. And, we've got 4 kids and grandkids coming. Let's know about it. The minimum I can do is put it out on social media. Let's start with people we know, me. You know me properly. You know me too. Let's talk about these things. Hannah's got a nice little circle of people. I know I'm older, but my kids are your age and younger.
Yeah.
So I had no idea. I haven't heard of these people you're talking about, but I don't doubt they're any good. It might not be my thing, but that doesn't matter. It'd be somebody's thing.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is I hadn't even heard of any of them either until we had the space and put the call outs out and started to again, it really is that old adage that I do agree with, which is that thing of build it and they will come. If there is a genuine need for it, and there is, because if you really want to get into it for a minute, we're segueing, I think, towards my words with SCC. It's about what you're really cutting back to more than anything, because we didn't just have artists turning up. We had just young people, just kids. It was people like everyone from the age of 20 to 30 was just rocking in. And actually, not even that. We even had some 90s Brunel Rooms veterans popping in, and they were like, it was nice to see the same thing alive again. But the point I'm making is that it's when you really cut it all back, and this is that it's a social space, which is lacking a lot right now,
Yeah.
and people want to do a lot of things, but you need to at least have secured some sort of space for us where it can be done. You need the assets.
I think you need two things to make things happen. I've been a great believer, especially since I've started my own business 19 years ago, is, having ideas is great, but if you don't take action, it'll always be an idea or a dream. It'll
sure.
never be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you sit down and wait for perfect, you'll be waiting forever.
100%.
You have to start somewhere, even if it's imperfect.
Yeah. I mean, the work last year, I'll be quite frank with you. And obviously, so we've been documenting this work since 2023. So there's going to be, at some point, there's going to be a long ass movie coming out.
Yeah.
But I'll be real with you. That end of 2025, it shattered my ego in the sense of I had a really specific idea of what it was going to be. And like before the end of last year, before October of 2025, I was still slightly a theoretical contemporary music theatre head that was going to like keep pushing the boat and experimenting in like the study of theatre. It's gone now. I'm a DJ. I run gigs. I want to provide as much free assets as I can for the public. And I'd quite like to make a bit of money now, actually.
No, and those are all valid. But I think that's part of learning. When I worked in television, there were a couple of times I had my own idea commissioned for TV, regional TV, we're talking, not national.
Yeah.
And my idea at the beginning was one thing, but you cannot create an idea on your own.
No.
You have to bring in other people. And therefore, that essential idea evolves and morphs, and what comes out the other end is something, and it can be quite far removed from that original idea, but at least something comes out the end.
At least something comes. Absolutely agree.
And the thing with TV is the deadline was you can't put out dead air.
Yeah, no.
Something has to go out.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you could have ended up, it could be, because there was no particular deadline. So I think that's just part of the evolution and growth. And I think you are learning that you can be an artist, but you need to be a pragmatist as well.
Oh, 100%.
And you have to be a business person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the money won't follow.
Yeah, and then it can't. Eventually, it can't happen because, and this is the thing we'll get to as well. Obviously, we've touched on already a little bit, but you will burn out if you haven't got a plan, a real plan, long term.
Yeah, and you can end up feeling like you'll never achieve anything. And especially if you're quite a theoretical thinker. Okay, let's talk about Swindon Culture Collective, which I realise now is which really excited me. But because I'm such a practical person, I can lose motivation if things don't happen quickly. And quite often when I've engaged with projects in Swindon, and people have asked for my help, and I've said, yeah, ready to help, nothing happens.
Sure.
For weeks and weeks and months. And Fiona, being Fiona, I'm off on the next thing. Yeah. So talk to me about Swindon Culture Collective and your role in that.
Well, so that segmented perfectly out of the work I was doing last year. I mean, so the fact that I'd sort of just dogged the Brunel for 3 years to try and really work out everything I could about the concept of meanwhile usage. And I'd gotten to the point where I'd started even chasing other retail landlords in other spaces like Regent Circus or The Outlet or what's it called? The Parade, it become my own little specialty subject. The thing of how do you get spaces organized. And it was that kind of involvement and sharing that knowledge and discussing that stuff with what was at the time beginning to become Swindon Culture Collective that essentially put me in a very strong position. So when I did apply for the job of creative spaces delivery, I mean, we just spent the last sort of half a year together, with an in motion CV happening in front of everyone's eyes. It was hard to deny. No shade.
No. Brilliant.
I got it.
No, that's brilliant. So how can people access knowledge about Swindon Culture Collective? Because I think there is most people in Swindon realise now that Swindon has been shortlisted. It's in the final 9 for City of Culture. how is that going to work with that? Because it would be nuts for those things, if should it happen, not to come together.
I mean, so the details of that is probably a better question for Rod or Louise.
Yeah. He's been on the podcast. Don't worry.
Oh, good. But as far as I understand it, so you can always maybe you can cut him in with the correct answer. But as far as I understand it, they are technically separate things. But so you have obviously City of Culture is one thing that is like, as you said, we've already been long listed, hoping to be shortlisted, maybe even hoping to be finalists. You know, as other people have said already, like even just this current status that we're at now is really great for the city, for the town.
Of course it is.
Because you know, it does give an opportunity to really start to suddenly build a more clarified, like a more clarity around a unifying message for the town, and it gives us a chance to do some initial, like we've done so much surveying and censusing. It's really hard to describe, you know, and this has just been a thing of it. When these kind of projects, like whether it's Swindon Culture Collective with the Place Partnership or a City of Culture, the bedrock work that has to be done, you know, it takes so much time and energy expended. It is a lot like a seed growing, like it's all germinating underground right now. It's so busy, and you're going to think nothing's happening. And then it's all just going to sprout. And that's all I can really describe it as, to give you an overview of what it's like.
I've got a sense of it from knowing Rod so well.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, look at my, or go back to my podcast with Rod Hebden. We had a really long chat about culture, art, science, and the Green Party, as it happened. So go back and have a listen to that. Because I'm a person who delivers once all those seeds are sort of above ground, if you like. That all has to happen in the background before we can start making it visible. What excites me is that I think it's amazing Swindon's got this far and is alongside other places. And I know, because I've visited and been to some of those places in depth, and I think, oh, we've got a real chance here. And even if we don't win, it'll be enough, I hope, for people to realise how creative Swindon is. It's really easy to just think we're a town with an industrial heritage and that's all we can offer, isn't it? Look, Morgan, we have gone on and on. We've come to the end of our time, but I'd really like to get you back in again, maybe in a year or so's time, and see where Morgan is, one where all of your gigs and things are. But for now, how can people find out about what you're up to? How can they connect with you? So
our main platform is probably Instagram. That's where most of our handles are. You can either search me on Instagram individually. The handle is Denim Morgan, but my professional stage name is just Denim. But the Instagram handle is Denim Morgan. Or you can search for North Star New Wave SC on Instagram, and you'll find us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been joyous talking to you. I feel like I've got tons more to learn from you. So I hope you've enjoyed that, listening to Morgan. Definitely get her back on again. And please join us next time. I really hope you've enjoyed that episode with Morgan. She's told you how to find her, so please get on, follow her, look at what she's doing, look at the events that she's behind and that she's creating. And if you want to find out more about me, I'm at scottmedia.uk, or on Facebook, I've got a private group. It's totally free to join, Fiona Scott's PR Tribe. Just mention this podcast and I'll let you in. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. Until next time.